Chapter 3. Consciousness returned to Grigner in stigmatic pools, as his mind gradually cleared of the cobwebs cluttering its inner recesses. Yet the Stygian cloud of charcoal ebony remained. He spelled stigmatic wrong. Also, I don't know what he means by stigmatic pools. An incompatible shield of blackness, enhanced by the bleak absence of sound. Grigner's muddled brain reeled from the shock of the blow he had received to the base of his skull. The events leading to his predicament were slow to filter back to him. He dickered with the notion that he was dead and had descended or sunk, however it may be, to the shadowed land beyond the aperture of the grave, but rejected this hypothesis when his memory sifted back within his grips. Dickered is a real word, and it's used in a way that I would say is correct. This was not the land of the dead. It was something infinitely more precarious than anything the grave could offer. Death promised an infinity of peace, not the finite misery of an inactive life of confined torture, forever concealed from the life-bearing shafts of the beloved rising sun. The orb that had been before taken for granted, yet now cherished above all else, to be forever refused further glimpses of the snow-capped summits of the land of his birth, never again to witness the thrill of plundering unexplored lands beyond the crest of a bleeding horizon. And perhaps worst of all, the denial to ever again encompass the lustful excitement of caressing the naked curves of the body of a trim-yooned wench. Man, we almost got through that entire sentence without it being horrible. This was indeed one of the buried chasms of hell, concealed within the inner depths of the palace's despised interior. A fearful ebony chamber, devised to drive to the brinks of insanity the minds of the unfortunately condemned, through the inapt solitude of a limbo of listless, dreary silence. Chapter 3.5. Considering how short Chapter 3 was, shouldn't that have been Chapter 2.5? And this be Chapter 3? Oh well. Chapter 3.5. A tightly rung elliptical circle, or torches. Oh. A tightly rung elliptical circle or torches cast their wavering shafts prancing morbidly over the smooth surface of a rectangular, ridged altar. Expertly chiseled forms of grotesque gargoyles graced the oblique rim, protuberating the length of the grim orifice of death, staring forever ahead into nothingness, in complete ignorance of the bloody rites enacted in their presence. Brown flaking stains decorated the golden surface of the ridge surrounding the altar, which banked to a small slit at the lower right-hand corner of the altar. He spelled altar incorrectly twice and then spelled it correctly. All right. Okay, so this is a rare instance where the online version has actually introduced an incorrect spelling where there wasn't one in the original. The original had altar spelled right all 3 times. However, reading that made me realize that I misread a sentence here, so let me reread from that point. Expertly chiseled forms of grotesque gargoyles graced the oblique rim protuberating the length of the grim orifice of death, staring forever ahead into nothingness, in complete ignorance of the bloody rites enacted in their prescience. Brown flaking stains decorated the golden surface of the ridge surrounding the altar, which banked to a small slit at the lower right-hand corner of the altar. The slit stood above a crudely pounded pail, which had several silver mesh chalices hanging at its sides. Dangling at the rim-off golden mallet, the handle of which was engraved with images of twisted faces, and groved at its far end with slots designed for a snug hand grip. The head of the mallet was slightly larger than a clenched fist, and shaped into a smooth oval mass. I tried really hard, but I have not absorbed any of these sentences. I have no clue what's going on. Encircling the marble altar was a congregation of leering shaman. Okay. Eerie chants of a bygone age, originating unknown eons before the memory of man, were being uttered from the buried recesses of the acolytes' deep lings. Yep, it says lings in the original. Orange paint was smeared in generous globules over the tops of the priests' wrinkled, shaven scalps, while golden rings projected from the lobes of their pink ears. Ornate lobes of luscious purple satin enclosed their bulging torsos. Attached around their waists with silvered silk lashes, latched with ebony buckles in the shape of morose, misshaped skulls. Dangling around their necks were oval-fashioned medallions held by thin gold chains, featuring in their centers blood-red rubis, which resembled crimson fetish eyeballs. Is that seriously what it says? Yes, it is. That is exactly what it says. Cushioning their bare feet were plush red felt slippers with pointed golden spikes projecting from their tips. Situated in front of the altar, and directly adjacent to the copper pail, was a massive jade idol, a misshaped, hideous bust of the shaman's pagan deity. The shimmering green idol was placed in a sitting posture on an ornately carved golden throne, raised upon a round, dvory-plated dais. It bulging arms and webbed hands resting on the padded arms of the seat. Even though I laughed a little bit in there, I'm not going to restart the sentence. Its head was entwined in golden snake-like coils hanging over its oblong ears, which tapered off to a thin hollow points. Its nose was a bulging triangular mass, sunken in at its sides, with toe-gaping nostrils. Oh my god, they misspelled the number 2. I can't. Dramatic beneath the nostrils was a twisted, shaggy-lipped mouth, giving the impression of a slavering, sadistic grimace. Slavering? Did they mean slavering? I don't even know what they meant by that. Okay. At the foot of the heathen deity, a slender, pale-faced female, naked but for a golden jeweled harness enshrouding her huge outcropping breasts, supporting long silver laces which extended to her thigh, stood before the pearl-white field with noticeable shivers traveling up and down the length of her exquisitely molded body. I think they technically managed to type an L in there to correct that. You know, it swings and roundabouts. I read a clean digital text version, but there are mistakes in it that weren't in the original and vice versa. But if I read the original, there's all this ambiguity because it was typewritten. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Her delicate lips trembled beneath soft, narrow hands as she attempted to conceal herself from the piercing stare of the ambivalent idol. Glaring directly down towards her was the stony,
cycloptic face of the bloated deity. Gaping from its single oblong socket was scintillating many-faceted scarlet emerald, a brilliant gem seeming to possess a life all of its own. Many... Did he mean faceted? A many-faceted scarlet emerald? Also, scarlet emeralds aren't a thing. Emeralds are green. It's not like sapphires that can be colors other than blue. Emeralds are green. They are necessarily green. So you can't have a scarlet emerald, so that's fun. Also, oblong socket. A priceless gleaming stone, capable of domineering the wealth of conquering empires. The Eye of Argon. Title drop.